You need to stop what you're doing right now and check your pocket. I'm serious. Because there are coins, ordinary, dirty, overlooked pennies that people are spending every single day, not realizing they're throwing away hidden wealth, a silent fortune that could literally change everything overnight. Nobody talks about these coins, but collectors, they're fighting behind the scenes, paying shocking amounts at real auctions. And today, I'm about to show you 3 wheat pennies that look completely normal, but carry life-changing value. Do not spend these coins. Each one we reveal gets rarer, scarier, and more valuable. So stay with me till the end, because what you miss here might already be in your hand. Coin number 1. Now let me tell you about a coin that most people wouldn't even look at twice. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous. Picture this: a slightly worn, brownish penny. Nothing shiny, nothing flashy, just sitting quietly in a jar, or maybe buried at the bottom of your drawer. You pick it up, glance at it for half a second, and toss it aside. That moment right there, that's how people lose a fortune without even realizing it. Because this is the 1957D wheat penny. And before you roll your eyes thinking, I've seen those before, you need to understand something. This specific coin, in the right condition, has shocked the market with values reaching $323. This is not hype. This is not fiction. This is real auction behavior, where collectors go silent, then suddenly strike with aggressive bids that leave everyone stunned. So what makes 1957 so special? You have to go back to the late 1950s in the United States, a time when the country was balancing Cold War tension, economic growth, and massive industrial pressure. The US Mint was pushing out coins in huge volumes to keep up with demand. Denver, marked by that tiny D mint mark, was operating under intense production stress. Machines were running fast. Dies were wearing down. Quality control wasn't always perfect. And that's exactly where rarity is born. Because under that pressure, a small number of coins came out with exceptional clarity, sharp detail, and near-perfect preservation, coins that somehow escaped circulation damage. Most were used, abused, scratched, or lost forever. But a very small few, survived. And those survivors? They became obsessions. Let's talk about what you're actually holding. On the front, the obverse, you'll see Abraham Lincoln facing right. But this isn't just a portrait. On a high-grade 1957D, Lincoln's cheekbones are crisp. The jawline is sharp. The hair strands, still visible, not flattened into mush like most circulated coins. Above him, "In God We Trust," should feel bold, not faded. The word liberty on the left, clear, not ghosting away. And then, the tiny D mint mark under the date. That small letter is everything. Collectors don't just look at it, they obsess over it. Its position, its sharpness, whether it's slightly tilted or perfectly aligned, these microscopic details can push a coin from ordinary to extraordinary. Flip it over, the reverse, and you'll see those iconic wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This design, known as the wheat reverse, was used from 1909 to 1958, and by 1957 it was nearing the end of its life. That alone adds emotional weight. This coin is part of the final chapter of a design that defined generations. Now here's where it gets even deeper. This coin is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. That composition gives it that warm, earthy tone, but also makes it incredibly sensitive. Over time, copper reacts. It darkens. It tones. It develops character. And collectors? They don't want a shiny, cleaned coin. They want that original skin, that untouched natural surface that proves the coin hasn't been tampered with. If you clean this coin, even once, you destroy its value forever. I'm not exaggerating. One wipe, one polish, one attempt to make it look better, and that $323,000 silent fortune can collapse into something barely worth a few dollars. Do not clean it. Now hold that coin in your mind for a second. It's about 19 millimeters in diameter, roughly 1.52 millimeters thick. It weighs 3.11 grams. Small, light, easy to ignore. That's what makes it so dangerous. Because something so physically insignificant is carrying serious money. And most people, they never check. They never look closely at the date. They don't examine the mint mark. They don't notice the condition. They just spend it. That's how hidden wealth disappears. But collectors, they're different. They'll sit under magnification, studying the tiniest imperfections. They'll analyze die wear, strike quality, luster. They'll compare shades of brown, red-brown, and full red surfaces. Because a 1957D in very fine and clear condition with strong detail and original toning, that's where the magic starts. And when one of these shows up in top condition, untouched, uncleaned, professionally graded, the room changes. Bidding doesn't start loud. It starts quiet, careful, calculated. Then suddenly, it spikes. Two collectors who both know what they're looking at, pushing the price higher and higher, because they understand something most people don't. These coins are disappearing. Every year more are damaged, lost, cleaned, destroyed. The supply shrinks, but the demand, it keeps rising. That's why this coin isn't just a collectible. It's a life-changing opportunity, a silent fortune hiding in plain sight. So here's what you need to do right now. Check your coins. Look at the date, 1957. Find that D mint mark. Examine the condition. Is Lincoln's face still detailed? Are the wheat lines sharp? Does the surface look natural or suspiciously shiny? And if you think you've found something, do not spend this coin. Do not clean it. Get it professionally graded. Because that one step can be the difference between pocket change and a six-figure payday. Most people will ignore this. Most people will miss it. But not you, because now you know what to look for. And what comes next is even bigger. The next coin isn't just rare. It's the kind of mistake that turns an ordinary penny into something collectors lose sleep over. And once you see it, you'll never look at your change the same way again. Next up, most people would throw this coin away without thinking twice. Seriously. If you saw a penny covered in dark green patches, brown stains, uneven color, you'd probably assume it's damaged, corroded, maybe even worthless. And that exact mistake, that's how people accidentally lose a silent fortune. Because this ugly, spotted, overlooked coin could be the 1948 wheat penny with no mint mark. And if it is, and it's the right one, you could be staring at $315,000 in hidden wealth. Let that sink in. This is the kind of coin people ignore, spend, or worse, try to fix. And the moment they do, the opportunity is gone forever. Now here's where things get intense. 1948 wasn't just another year. The United States was stepping out of the shadow of World War II. The economy was shifting. Industry was booming again, but the US Mint was still recovering from years of wartime strain. Equipment had been overused. Dies were worn. Production processes were pushed hard to meet national demand for coinage. And when pressure builds, Mistakes, inconsistencies, and rare survivors are created. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by the absence of a mint mark, was producing massive quantities of pennies. No D, no S, just a plain date, 1948. That missing mint mark is not a mistake, it's a signal. It tells collectors exactly where it came from. And in this case, it opens the door to one of the most misunderstood treasures in circulation. Because here's the twist. Most surviving 1,948 pennies were heavily circulated. They were used daily, passed from hand to hand, worn down, scratched, cleaned, and destroyed over decades. But a small number developed something unusual. That dark green and brown spotting you see? That's not always damage. That can be original copper oxidation, natural aging that forms over decades when the coin is left undisturbed. Collectors call this natural toning, and when it's authentic, untouched, and stable, it becomes a fingerprint of time, a proof that the coin has not been tampered with. And collectors crave that authenticity. If you try to clean those spots, thinking you're improving the coin, you are actually erasing its history. You're stripping away the very thing that could make it worth serious money. Do not clean this coin. Now let's slow down and really look at it. On the front, the obverse, you'll see Abraham Lincoln again, but this time the condition tells a story. In almost fine condition, Lincoln's features are still visible, but softer. The cheek and jawline show wear, but they're not gone. The hair detail is partially flattened, yet still readable. In God we trust may not scream at you, but it's there. Liberty might look slightly faded, but it hasn't disappeared. And the date, 1948, must be clear. That's non-negotiable. Now flip it. The reverse shows those iconic wheat stalks, slightly worn, but still framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. The lines in the wheat may not be razor-sharp, but they're visible. That's what separates almost fine from completely worn-out junk. And here's something most people miss. Collectors don't just look for perfection, they look for survival. This coin, especially with natural green and brown toning, tells a story of decades untouched. Maybe it sat in a jar. Maybe it was forgotten in an attic. Maybe it passed through generations without anyone realizing what it was. That untouched state, that's where the value lives. Physically, it's the same size as any other wheat penny, about 19 millimeters in diameter, around 1.52 millimeters thick, weighing approximately 3.11 grams. It feels insignificant in your hand. Light. Ordinary. But it's not. Because inside that small piece of copper, 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc, is a story of post-war America, industrial pressure, and accidental rarity. And here's the dangerous part. People see the dark green spots and panic. They think it's corrosion. They think it's ruined. They think it has no value. So they clean it, or worse, spend it. That's how $315,000 disappears into circulation. That's how hidden treasure gets erased. But collectors, they see it differently. They lean in closer. They study the surface. They look at how the toning spreads, whether it's natural or artificial. They examine the edges, the color transitions, the way light reflects off untouched copper. Because real collectors aren't just buying coins. They're buying untouched history. And when a genuine 1948 no-mint mark penny with original toning and solid detail appears in the market, things get very quiet. No hype, no noise, just serious buyers watching closely, waiting, and then suddenly bidding begins. Slow at first, then sharper, more aggressive. 2 or 3 collectors who recognize the rarity, pushing the price higher because they know opportunities like this don't come often. And when it's gone, it disappears into a private collection, sometimes for decades. That's why supply keeps shrinking. And demand? It's rising, relentlessly. This is not just a coin. This is a life-changing opportunity hiding in plain sight. So here's what you need to do carefully. First, check the date, 1948. Second, look for the absence of a mint mark. No D, no S, that means Philadelphia. Third, examine the surface. Are those green and brown areas natural, or do they look scratched, shiny, or tampered with? Fourth, check the details. Can you still see Lincoln's features? Are the wheat lines visible? If the answer is yes, stop right there. Do not spend this coin. Do not clean it. And most importantly, get it professionally graded. Because grading doesn't just confirm authenticity, it locks in the condition, protects the value, and turns a maybe into something real, something recognized in the collector world. One mistake, just one, can destroy everything. Cleaning it, scratching it, mishandling it, even storing it incorrectly. That's how people lose fortunes they never knew they had. But if you're patient, if you protect it, if you understand what you're not holding a penny. You're holding serious money, a silent fortune, hidden wealth that most people will never even notice. And here's the part that should make you uneasy. There's still one more coin. And this next one isn't just rare because of age or condition. It's rare because of something that should have never happened at the mint. Something so unexpected that when collectors find it, they don't hesitate. They fight for it. And once you see it, you'll realize just how close you've been to missing everything. Next up, there's a coin out there, sitting in someone's drawer right now, that looks so strange, so uneven, so wrong, that most people would instantly reject it. They'd think it's damaged, corroded, maybe even fake. And without a second thought, they'd spend it. And that exact decision? That's how a $305,000 silent fortune disappears. Because what you're looking at might be the 1,941 wheat penny with no mint mark, covered in deep green layers that most people completely misunderstand. This is not just another coin. This is the kind of piece collectors quietly hunt for. The kind that doesn't scream value, but hides it beneath decades of untouched history. And once you understand what makes this coin different, you'll never look at a dirty penny the same way again. Let's go back to 1941 for a second. The United States was on the edge of entering World War II. Tension was rising. Resources were being monitored. Industry was shifting toward war readiness. The US Mint, especially in Philadelphia, was producing coins under increasing pressure, not yet at full wartime intensity, but already feeling the strain. And when a system is under pressure, perfection starts to slip. The Philadelphia Mint, which leaves no mint mark, produced millions of pennies that year. But among those millions, a small number developed something unusual, layered oxidation patterns that formed over time in a way that's almost impossible to replicate. And that's where this coin becomes dangerous to ignore. Because those green layers you see, they're not just stains. They're not random damage. They're slow, natural copper reactions formed over decades as the metal interacts with air, moisture, and environment. This coin is made of 95% copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. Copper is alive in a way. It changes, it breathes, it evolves. And when it does so naturally, without interference, it creates surfaces that collectors call original, untouched, and incredibly desirable. But here's the problem. Most people see green and panic. They think corrosion. They think I should clean this. And the moment they do, They erase the very thing that made it valuable. Do not clean this coin. You need to understand this clearly. Those layered green tones, especially when they appear stable and blended into the surface, are part of the coin's identity. Remove them, and you're not restoring the coin. You're destroying its story. Now take a closer look. On the front, the obverse, you'll see Abraham Lincoln facing right. But unlike a shiny new coin, this one has depth. The green layers may sit lightly across parts of the surface, especially around the edges or within the lettering. Lincoln's profile, in very fine condition, still holds strong detail. His cheek, jawline, and even parts of his hair remain visible. In God we trust, arches above, slightly softened but readable. Liberty stands to the left, not bold but present. And the date, 1941, must be clear. That date anchors everything. And then there's the absence of a mint mark. No D, no S. That means Philadelphia. And for collectors, that absence isn't emptiness, it's identity. Flip the coin. The reverse shows the wheat stalks, those iconic symbols of American agriculture, framing 1 cent and United States of America. In very fine condition, the wheat lines are worn but still defined. Not flat, not erased, just softened by time. And when those green layers weave through the design, it creates something almost artistic. A coin that doesn't just look old, it feels preserved. Now hold that image in your mind. This coin is about 19 millimeters wide, roughly 1.52 millimeters thick, weighing around 3.11 grams. It's small, light, easy to overlook. That's the danger. Because something this physically ordinary is carrying hidden wealth that most people will never notice. And here's what makes it even more intense. Coins like this don't survive easily. Copper is sensitive. It reacts. It changes. Most 1,941 pennies were either heavily worn down, cleaned, or completely destroyed over time. Finding one in very fine condition with natural layered toning still intact? That's rare, really rare. And collectors know it. They don't just want perfect coins. They want original coins. Coins that haven't been fixed. Coins that still carry the fingerprint of time. Because originality is something you cannot recreate. And when a coin like this appears on the market, something strange happens. It doesn't always explode with attention right away. Instead, it draws in a specific type of collector, the patient, experienced ones, the ones who understand what they're seeing. They watch, they wait, and then, when the moment is right, they move. Bids start coming in, quiet at first, then stronger, then aggressive. Because two collectors recognizing the same rare surface, the same untouched condition, that's when competition ignites. And suddenly, that ugly green-layered penny becomes a battlefield. That's how values climb. That's how a coin like this reaches $305,000. Not because it's shiny, not because it's perfect, but because it survived exactly as it is. That's hidden treasure. That's a silent fortune. And right now, coins like this are still out there. In jars, in drawers, in pockets, being ignored, being spent, being cleaned, and ruined forever. So here's what you need to do. First, check the date, 1941. Second, confirm there is no mint mark. Third, study the surface. Are those green layers natural and blended, or do they look harsh, scratched, or artificial? Fourth, look at the details. Is Lincoln still defined? Are the wheat lines visible? If everything lines up, stop. Do not spend this coin. Do not clean it. And don't try to improve it. Instead, protect it. Store it safely. And most importantly, get it professionally graded. because grading turns uncertainty into proof. It tells the world what you already suspect, that you're holding something rare. And here's the truth most people aren't ready to hear. The difference between a worthless penny and a life-changing opportunity is knowledge. Most people will never take the time to look. Most people will miss the signs. Most people will lose the money. But if you're still here, if you've followed every detail, then you're not most people. You're someone who now knows that even the strangest-looking coin, the one everyone ignores, could be the one that changes everything.